When you look at the headlines these days, it feels like we're just getting hit from all sides with a bunch of different crises, right? But what if they're not so unrelated after all? In this explainer, we're going to pull on the threads of some of November 2025's biggest stories, and you'll see just how tangled up they really are.
I know. It sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, but stick with me because the answer reveals this powerful, kind of crazy collision that's happening right now between our digital dreams and our physical reality. Okay, let's get into it.
We're going to start with something a lot of people are feeling firsthand: the absolute mess in the skies, all driven by this ongoing U.S. government shutdown. 17,000. That's how many commercial flights got delayed in just one weekend. We're not 40 days into the shutdown, and it's led to a huge shortage of air traffic controllers. The entire system is just creaking at the seams.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. You're looking at a tale of two completely different worlds. For most of us, it's thousands of cancellations, maybe 10% of all flights getting cut. But for the private jet set, business is booming. One company, FlexJet, saw its revenue hours jump 42%. It just goes to show, if you have the money, all this chaos is just a problem you can literally fly right over.
So this disruption isn't just at the airport, right? It's sending these huge ripples through the financial markets. So when the economy looks this shaky and government services are on pause, where do investors put their cash? They fly to safety. $4,090.96 an ounce. With weak job numbers and all this shutdown anxiety, investors are piling into gold, pushing the price to a 2-week high. It's a classic playbook, isn't it? When everything feels unstable, you go looking for something solid. And this hunt for something solid is putting an incredible strain on the actual physical building blocks of our economy. Let's see how this pressure builds, from something precious like gold to something, well, a lot more explosive. So when you hear TNT, your brain probably jumps to military use, right? But here's the thing. Its most critical role is actually commercial. This is the key ingredient for mining the minerals that are in your phone, for quarrying the stone that builds our roads, for everything. And this chart, wow, it just lays the problem bare. The price of TNT has jumped 40 times over. Why? Well, the US hasn't actually made its own TNT since the 80s. And the war in Ukraine has soaked up the global supply, which used to come from places like Poland, Russia, and China. So now everybody is scrambling for what's left. And look, this isn't just about explosives. It goes way deeper to all sorts of critical minerals. Now, there was a recent trade truce between the US and China that eased things up a bit, but this quote is a stark reminder of a fundamental weakness. Crucial parts of our global supply chain can be turned into geopolitical weapons at a moment's notice. Okay, so we've got a shaky economy and strained physical supply chains. Now let's throw a massive new character into the mix, one that is eating up those physical resources at a rate that is just hard to even comprehend: artificial intelligence. Let's get one thing straight. The cloud isn't some fluffy thing up in the sky. It's a building. In fact, it's thousands and thousands of massive data centers. And these buildings, running these incredibly powerful AI models, are unbelievably hungry for electricity. It's creating a new bottleneck that the biggest tech companies are desperate to solve. And the scale of this problem is so massive that the US government is planning to use most of its energy loans to build 10 new large nuclear reactors by 2030, pretty much just to keep up with what AI is expected to need. But it's not just about keeping the lights on. It's also about the physical chips and the servers you need to actually make the AI work. And here, too, we are hitting some real physical limits. So this quote, it sounds super technical, but let me break it down. Think of it like this. You've got this amazing, complex new video game, but you're trying to play it on a computer from the 90s. The game is just too big for the computer's memory. That's basically the problem these guys, a new $100 million startup from ex-Google and Meta folks, are trying to solve for AI. It's another physical bottleneck in this race for digital dominance. Okay, so with all these pressures building up, from travel chaos to shortages of explosives and power, how are some of the smartest companies in the world actually responding to all this? Take a look at Disney. Sure, their entertainment division brings in more money overall, but look at the operating income. Their physical experiences, we're talking theme parks, cruise ships, are more than twice as profitable. So what are they doing? They're turbocharging this part of the business, building new ships like the Disney Destiny, and betting big on tangible, real-world stuff. And speaking of big bets, let's talk about one of the biggest players of them all, As he steps down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at 95 years old, Warren Buffett's personal fortune is a mind-boggling $149 billion. This quote really marks the end of an era. But what is his company doing in this uncertain world we've been talking about? Berkshire Hathaway is sitting on a record $381 billion. In cash, it's basically a fortress made of capital, hedging against all this instability.
All right, time to put it all together. Canceled flights, TNT, AI data centers, a new cruise ship, and Warren Buffett's pile of cash. Let's finally connect all these dots.
So here it is, the hidden connection. The explosive growth of the digital world isn't happening in a vacuum. The economic instability from something like the shutdown sends investors running to physical safety, like gold or cash. At the exact same time, geopolitical tension is squeezing the supply of the physical stuff we need to build everything. And crashing right into the middle of all this is the AI revolution, demanding more power, more minerals, more hardware than ever. So what does the smart money do? It either hoards cash like Buffett, or it doubles down on profitable, physical things, like Disney. What we're seeing isn't a series of random events. It's a chain reaction. The more we build in the cloud, the greater the demand becomes here on the ground. And that leaves us with one final and I think really critical question to think about. As this great collision accelerates, what vital resource are we going to discover we're missing next?